It's been a long time, just about 3 years since the last time that we saw Satoru Gojo. And we thought that we had seen the craziest chapter ever when we saw Sukuna go into Megumi's body, but last night we received the craziest news in a long time, and that is, the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer is back. Just about everything that had been going on so far, the Culling Games, Kinjaku's plans, Sukuna's plans, they're all just turned upside down right now. And although we are all overwhelmed by the leaks, I'm going to tell you guys everything to expect in the future, and all of the challenges the main cast and Gojo still will have to face, because even though he's back, there's still a lot of things in the way for the main cast. So if you want to know what they will probably have to come across in the future, and even more importantly, things that Sukuna may have up his sleeve for the round 2 with Gojo, then you have come to the right video. And as always, thank you for watching. And before we get too deep into the video, I want to say I won't be showing too much of the actual leaks that got posted, because Shueisha are on the lookout and they do take down videos that show the leaks. That's why most leaks videos you see, they either show the leaks for maybe half a second or the picture's really enlarged, because if Shueisha sees the video, they'll take it down. But they can't stop us from conversing about the leaks and celebrating the return of Satoru Gojo, because trust me, everything has been turned upside down now. But there's still a large problem that Gojo and the main cast are going to have to deal with, and we're going to get into all of that in today's video. Now, one of the most surprising things about Gojo's return was that Kinjaku already had a plan for if Gojo got unsealed. I remember that was a very contentious topic within the Jujutsu Kaisen community, that Kinjaku doesn't know about the back of the prison room, so as soon as they do release Gojo, Kinjaku's screwed. But Kinjaku already accounted for this possibility, and he actually put the prison room 8,000 meters deep in a trench just in case Gojo ever got unsealed. But as we know now, that didn't work. And I do want to say, Gojo had to have been extremely confused getting out of the prison room and just being submerged by water 8,000 meters deep. Of course, now we know he must have teleported to the top, and the way he pulls up on Kinjaku is just so cool, because Gojo didn't look angry. We know that he must have been angry, of course, but Gojo doesn't know everything that's been going on the outside, so that might be the reason that he was so calm. I remember a lot of people were asking why Gojo was so calm, and the reason is, well, Gojo has basically been in the dark for the past 19 days, which was another thing that was very confusing as well. Even though we knew it hadn't been that much time in verse, us figuring out that it was only 19 days that Gojo had been sealed was pretty shocking to everybody. But for him, the past 19 days could have been years inside of that prison room, or they could have just been split moments. Either way, he doesn't know about the loss of his friends like Nanami, possibly even Obara who's passed on. He doesn't even know about what happened to Yaga, Todo, etc. So there's just so many things that Gojo is in the dark about. I guarantee if Gojo knew about the deaths of his friends, Gojo would not have been so calm. And another thing that was extremely interesting was how confident Sukuna was in fighting against Gojo. Now, we knew that Sukuna has always been confident when fighting Gojo, but even seeing Gojo now popping out of the prison room, Sukuna is still as confident in beating him. And this raises the question about what Sukuna has that can actually touch Gojo. Now, obviously, one of the answers would be domain expansion. We're talking about things other than domain expansions, and now there are a couple answers. One of them is Maharaga. We know that Maharaga has the ability to adapt and overcome to any and all phenomena, and we saw that happen when Sukuna was fighting against Yorozu. Now, this is one of those things where I don't know if Gege will take it here, but it is possible that Sukuna adapts to infinity. Now, I know you might be wondering how or you can't adapt to infinity, but once I break it down, it is very possible, and this is probably going to be the route that Gege takes with this. Well, we know that Maharaga can adapt to a curse technique after he's been affected by it. We know this happened with Dismantle and Cleave when Sukuna hit Maharaga with a couple slashes. Well, if Gojo uses blue or red against Maharaga, there is a high likelihood that Maharaga is just able to adapt to the Limitless Curse technique as a whole, because he would be getting hit by attacks within the Limitless technique, red and blue, and Maharaga would have adapted to the curse technique. But once again, I don't know if this is the route Gege will take with this ability, but it is something that Gojo definitely needs to look out for his second fight against Sukuna. And before I move on to the second way I think Sukuna may be able to bypass infinity, I do just want to say, I do think one purple would take out Maharaga or Sukuna. I know some people think, oh well, Maharaga is so big now and purple just only took out Toji's side, purple's not that big. I just ask everybody who thinks that to look back at Goodwill. If you look at the purple that Gojo let off there and hit Hanami with, it looks about the size of a football field in width. If that purple was to ever hit Maharaga, it would take him out in one shot. The problem with Maharaga is you don't want to let him live after you hit him, because if he lives, then he adapts. But if you just take him out in one shot, then he dies. Sort of like what Sukuna did at the end of his fight against Maharaga. He hit him with the flame technique and just killed him in one burn. That is what would happen if Gojo was to hit Maharaga with that big purple we saw in Goodwill. Now, the second way I think Sukuna may be able to bypass Infinity, and this is a big if, is remember that tool that Yorozu created for Sukuna right before she died? We know that she has the creation technique, and she was creating something for Sukuna right before she passed on. Now, whatever tool she gave him, I don't know what abilities it will have, but it definitely will have some abilities. Some that might aid him in a fight against Gojo. And the way that this would work is, remember that black rope that Miguel had in Volume 0? Or the inverted spear of heaven that Toji had in hidden inventory? Yorozu could have made a tool similar to these in the way that it messes with curse techniques. And if she did, then Gojo would be in some deep trouble. Now, I do want to say, just because you can hit Gojo doesn't mean you've beaten Gojo. Because if anything, that just puts you guys on sort of an equal playing field, like now you two can hit each other. So Sukuna would still have to deal with the full brunt of Satoru Gojo's power, even though he can now touch him. So even though the fight gets a bit easier, it just doesn't become easy. And I know some people are wondering if fighting Megumi, technically, even though it is fighting Sukuna, if fighting Sukuna while he's in the body of Megumi will hinder Gojo in a fight. And I will say first, well, it must be really freaky for Gojo to now be facing not only his best friend from high school, which is Kinjaku, but now also his student, which is Megumi, and now they're both just enemies. So not only is that freaky, but I do think that Gojo will resolve himself if he hasn't already. I definitely think he's gotten over the Kinjaku thing, but for the Megumi thing, I don't know if he's gotten over it completely, but because him and Sukuna have set back their fight for an entire month, he now has a month to resolve himself or come up with a plan to sort of get Megumi out of there. Now, I don't know if we will ever get Megumi out of there, and that is the big problem with Gojo going all out, right? If Gojo goes all out and beats Sukuna, well, he's now killed Megumi as well, who is a student who he's loved and raised since he was a child. Now, I will say this, there is only one way I see that they can save Megumi and also kill Sukuna. And when I say this, I don't want this to be looked at as sort of cope for Megumi fans, and also don't want to say this and give Megumi fans too much hope, because there is a big chance that this does not happen. So before I say exactly how they could save Megumi, just know that there is a huge chance this doesn't happen, but I'll say it anyways. Here is one way they can save Megumi and kill Sukuna, and that is if the angel comes back and gets in shape again. If she can do her Jacob's Ladder technique on Sukuna again, which she was doing successfully the first time, she will be able to remove Sukuna from Megumi's body, and then him and Gojo can get into their fight. Once again, this might not happen, so all Megumi supporters, we might just lose Megumi, but if the angel can come in and do this, then she saves the day by saving Megumi, and then she also saves the day because Gojo will only have to kill Sukuna. So that's 2 wins in 1. Now there are like a bunch of great things that come out of Sukuna and Gojo pushing their fight back 1 month. One of them is the reunion of the main cast. But before I talk about their reunion, let me talk about one thing that we all are looking forward to, and that is Kashimo versus Sukuna. That fight can still happen. There's a great opportunity for that fight to happen now because there's a month of downtime. Sukuna and Kinjaku now have their own things they need to go do, but since Gojo and the others won't be intervening, Kashimo can go and challenge Sukuna anytime he wants to. And that means not only will we get to see Kashimo versus Sukuna, but for the first time in the series, we will be able to see Kashimo's curse technique. And I know what you're thinking, wow, this fight is going to be amazing to see, and I agree. You know, we'll actually get to see Sukuna go up against a sorcerer who's as ruthless as Kashimo is, and is also as strong as Kashimo is, especially with the sure hit capabilities of Kashimo's curse energy trait. Like his lightning attacks, for example, they basically don't miss. I want to see how Sukuna deals with that, but not just that, right? Because I don't think anything that Kashimo has shown so far will do good against Sukuna, decent at best. I think that what we're all looking forward to is that curse technique. And I can't even begin to get into all of the theories about what Kashimo's curse technique is, But whatever it is, I know that it won't be a letdown because Gege always gives us what we want as viewers. Every fight that we've seen has just been amazing, every main fight at least, and that is what I think is going to come into play in this fight against Kashimo and Sukuna. Everything would just be amazing. The only thing that I can see that makes this fight not epic is if Kashimo's curse technique does nothing, which, is a possibility. He is going up against Sukuna, who now has Maharaga, and the fight might be quicker than we think. But I'll be honest, I don't care too much if Kashimo loses in one chapter, half a chapter, or if it takes 3 chapters for Kashimo to lose. As long as the fight is good, I think that's all that we're asking for. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, there are a lot of problems that the main cast will still have to deal with, even if they became successful in beating the antagonist, and that is the look of Japan in the eyes of all the other national governments. And if you remember, Kinjaku went and visited all of these other governments before the Culling Games actually started. He went to America and the other powerful nations. He basically went to them and said, hey, we have a bunch of cursed energy, come and get this cursed energy, I'll give it to you. But we all know that Kinjaku was tricking them. He told these foreign nations that there was cursed energy in Japan, so he could lead their armies into Japan to kill them all and gain their cursed energy. The problem is now, even if Gojo wins, all of these foreign nations will be collapsing on Japan, and if the sorcerers fight back to defend themselves, they would be killing these government foreign powers, and the world would basically look at Japan as a bunch of traitors. But that is a problem for the future, like the far, far future, you could say. One of the problems for the near future, and I know a lot of people are wondering this, is if Gojo's going to be fighting Sukuna, well, who's going to be fighting Kinjaku? And I do think that we will see the Volume 0 run back of Yuta versus Kinjaku. It is a fight that has been being built up basically since Yuta came back. Remember, before Gojo got sealed, he actually looked up at Kinjaku and said, don't forget who beat up that body before I got to you. And then we saw that Yuta said himself he will kill Kinjaku. Now, Gojo could play it safe and say, hey, Hikari and Yuta, both of you guys go fight Kinjaku, because I will say this, I think Hikari and Yuta together beat up Kinjaku. The only problem comes if they fight Kinjaku separately. That's when I think Kinjaku has his best chances of winning. Now, I will say this, if they fight him together, yes, I have Hikari and Yuta winning, but Yuta on his own getting the run back of Volume 0 basically, him fighting Kinjaku alone, that will be tricky. I have made a video in the past about Kinjaku versus Yuta and who I thought would win the versus battle. But in that battle, I was taking their past selves. I was taking Yuta from his fight with Ryu and Uro, and I was taking Kinjaku from the Yuki fight. Yuta has a month to copy different curse techniques and basically get stronger, which is something I talked about a little bit more in my Jujutsu Kaisen's Last Hope video, where that video I basically talked about what Yuta will be doing in preparation for the end of the series and preparing for an upcoming fight with Kinjaku. So if you want more detail on that, then I highly suggest you go look at that video. Also, I know some people asked where Nobara is, and sadly, I don't have an answer. I don't think anybody has an answer other than Gege right now, and Gege's just not telling us. Hopefully Nobara is alright. Nobara is a great character, and we didn't actually get to get a send-off for Nobara, so getting like a Nobara ending or a comeback is the perfect time, because like I said earlier, there is a month of downtime in the series now. So Nobara, if she was to ever come back, should do it now. Now sadly, the manga will be on break for the next 2 weeks, so we won't be able to get any further updates for a minute, but I can't wait to see what comes next, and I know you guys can't wait either. With that being said, I want to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed, then I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as I do post every other day on different topics you guys give me and I feel come up with on my own. Thank you for watching, see you next time.